This is Lionel Messi. 8 Ballon d'Ors, a World Cup, the greatest of all time, wearing the sky blue and white of Argentina. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. There was a moment, a real one, where Messi very nearly never wore that shirt at all. Where the coaches around him at Barcelona were quietly trying to convince him to play for Spain instead. Not a rumor, not internet fan fiction. A documented, almost happened piece of football history, uncovered in detail by ESPN's Messi, the Forgotten Tape. So today we're asking, how close did it actually get? What would it have taken for Lionel Messi to become a Spanish international? And what would the sport look like right now if he had? Let's rewind to the early 2000s. Messi is a teenager inside Barcelona's youth academy, La Masia, and even at that age, it's obvious to everyone around him that he's different. Faster, sharper, more instinctive than kids 2 or 3 years older. But there's a problem. Argentina isn't calling. The Argentine Football Association, the AFA, simply doesn't know what they have. Remember, this is 2004. No YouTube highlight reels, no viral clips, no smartphones filming every training session. A brilliant teenager in Barcelona could go almost completely unnoticed back home in Rosario. Meanwhile, Messi is already on track to qualify for Spanish citizenship, having lived and trained in Catalonia for years. So Barcelona's own staff, coaches, people around the club, start floating a very practical idea to him. Why wait on a phone call from Argentina that might never come, when Spain is right here, ready to fast-track you? It wasn't a hostile takeover. It was presented as the safe, sensible option. Stay in Spain. Don't gamble your international career on a federation that hasn't shown any interest. And for a teenager who just wants to play, that's a tempting pitch. This is where the story turns into something closer to a spy thriller than a sports documentary. Because while Spain's federation and people around Messi are making their case, a small group of people connected to Messi's family start working the phones in the opposite direction, trying to get Argentina's attention before it's too late. One of the key figures here is Horacio Gaggioli, a family friend. According to the accounts gathered by ESPN, it was actually Messi's father, Jorge, who set this in motion, asking Gaggioli to get some footage together because the Argentine national team happened to be passing through Barcelona. Gaggioli gets his hands on footage from Barca, has it transferred onto a VHS tape, and heads straight to the team's hotel, the Hotel Princesa Sofia, to track down anyone connected to the Argentina coaching staff. He finds Claudio Vivas, assistant to head coach Marcelo Bielsa, and hands the tape over. Think about how fragile that moment is. One tape, one hotel lobby, one assistant coach willing to actually watch it. If Vivas brushes him off, if that tape gets lost in a suitcase, this entire story goes differently. The tape eventually makes its way to the man who actually runs Argentina's youth national teams, Hugo Tocali. And when Tocali finally sits down to watch it, his reaction is immediate. He's blown away. Not just by the goals, but by how this kid moves. The way he described it, watching Messi accelerate reminded him of a squirrel darting around. Small, quick, impossible to pin down. That single reaction, one coach, watching one tape in one office, is arguably the moment Argentina stops being passive about Messi and starts treating him like a priority. But, and this is important, impressed isn't the same as fast. Even after Tocali sees the footage, there's a delay. The AFA doesn't sprint into action overnight. And every day that passes is another day for Spain's case to look more appealing. So Tocali makes the call. Argentina needs to bring this kid in, now. There's just one small problem. They don't actually know how to reach the family. According to the people involved, Argentina's staff resorted to something almost absurdly low-tech for a story this consequential, going through the phone directory for Rosario, Messi's hometown, and calling number after number listed under Messi, hoping to land on the right household. Eventually, they get through. And on the other end of the line is Jorge Messi, Lionel's father, who, according to those involved, responds with something like relief in his voice. A simple, exhausted, "at last." That's it. That's the whole hinge point of the story. A phone book and a father who'd clearly been waiting for that call. So now let's play out the version of history that didn't happen. If Messi had gone the other way, accepted Spanish citizenship, committed to their youth setup instead of waiting on Argentina, he wouldn't have joined just any national team. He would have joined the machine that was about to become Spain's golden generation. We're talking about the Spain side that won Euro 2008, the 2010 World Cup, and Euro 2012, back-to-back-to-back. Built around Xavi, Iniesta, Casillas, and that suffocating tiki-taka style that dominated an entire era of football. Now drop a teenage Messi into that pipeline. A player who already idolized and matched pace with Xavi and Iniesta's style of play, who was already training alongside several of them at Barcelona. It's not hard to imagine him fitting into that possession-based identity almost seamlessly. Would Spain have won even more? Would Messi's individual trophy case look different without the burden of dragging a comparatively weaker Argentina squad through the 2014 and 2018 World Cups on his own? Would we have gotten a Messi-Ronaldo rivalry played out through international tournaments instead of just La Liga? Nobody can answer that with certainty. That's the nature of a what if. But it's not a stretch to say the entire shape of 2010's football, maybe even the outcome of a World Cup or two, could have looked completely different. And yet, for all the strategic sense the Spain option made, Messi's answer, when it actually mattered, was never really in doubt. Because despite the paperwork lining up neatly for Spain, and despite Argentina taking their time to notice him, Messi's own sense of identity apparently never wavered. He grew up in Rosario. His family, his roots, his sense of home were always Argentine. And by the accounts of the people who lived through this story, that was never something on the table for negotiation. Argentina just came dangerously close to losing him anyway. Not because Messi wanted out, but because their own institutions were slow to notice what they had. In the end, a father's instinct, a family friend with a VHS tape, and a coach who happened to compare a teenager to a squirrel were the difference between Lionel Messi lifting a World Cup for Argentina in Qatar or wearing red for Spain instead. Sometimes the biggest turning points in sports history don't look dramatic in the moment. They look like a guy walking into a hotel lobby with a tape in his hand. If you want the full story, straight from the people who were actually there, go watch Messi, The Forgotten Tape from ESPN. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe and let me know in the comments. Do you think Messi wins the World Cup with Spain's golden generation? Or does Argentina's 2022 story only happen the way it did?